Luigi's Mansion 3 is finally out, and has been out for the past several days. I know, I'm slow. Well, I wasn't when I did my Let's Play that a lot of people watched. Anyways, as I said I was gonna do, I'm doing a Luigi's Mansion 3 review. And without further ado, let's get into that review. Starting off real quick with the graphics and music, as there's not much to say there. The graphics, they look fantastic. By far one of the best looking games on the Switch. I would say it's just, they're just fantastic. I mean, the lighting looks great, the texturing, just all of it. It just looks fantastic. There's not really much else to say about the graphics. And a fairly large musical diversity. There's definitely, when it comes to music, it's like, instead of just having, like, honestly, Dark Moon seemed a lot like it had a lot of just different arrangements of the same theme over and over. And with the original Luigi's Mansion, it just had different parts of the same theme playing, sort of like different layers of the song playing throughout. And Dark Moon, to a certain extent, has that as well. And I have to admit, I haven't exactly... It's been a little while since I played the games, but honestly... And I haven't exactly studied the music in Luigi's Mansion 3, but it definitely feels like it has a much higher musical diversity in the different original pieces and themes. It definitely feels like it has a better diversity with the bosses and the different floors having different themes and stuff. It definitely feels like there's more diversity. I have to admit, a lot of the music isn't really that memorable, but the new main theme, which you'll most certainly hear in the video, like the one on the main menu, that one's definitely very memorable and catchy. So there's at least one very memorable tune that they added, and it's really good. And when it comes to Luigi's Mansion games, honestly, I'd say most of the themes haven't been that memorable, so it's not really unprecedented to have a lot of not really very memorable themes, but one really, really catchy one. So I'd say I actually think the music is a little bit more diverse than previous iterations, but overall it's great. That just getting those two out of the way. But of course we want to get into the real meat of it here. So the mechanics, the old ones still work great and are very well used. And some of the newer mechanics are a little bit underused. For the most part, like some mechanics like Luigi, for instance, I was actually a little concerned that it might be a little too geared towards co-op, but so far, who am I kidding so far? I beat the game completely. What am I talking about so far? But honestly, Luigi works great in single player, and I also did actually get a chance to test it out in co-op, and it works good in co-op as well. I haven't played a lot of the game in co-op, but it's definitely a lot of fun in co-op as well as single player, and it definitely works in single player. Like, it doesn't feel wrong to use it in single player. Like, I was worried that it was gonna be too geared towards co-op, and the single player experience wouldn't be quite as good, but honestly, any concerns about that, they're completely out the window at this point. Honestly, I think it's handled really well. Like the new burst mechanic, it could have been used a little bit more, but honestly, I feel like the burst mechanic, it was used just enough, so that was definitely useful. Some of the bosses and puzzles did involve it. It wasn't a main mechanic, but it was definitely used, and when it was used well, though it wasn't super common, but I don't think it really needed to be. There was one mechanic, though, that you can only use in certain locations, and I'm not going to say what it is, but just saying you can only be used in certain locations. If you've played the game, you know which one I'm talking about, and it's only used once in the entire game. And I'm like, really? You're only going to use that mechanic once? And it is awesome, like totally freaking awesome. And if you look at it, I can get why, I can get how it probably took a lot of work to get that mechanic in there and to get that little bit. But honestly, there's like an entire mission that you spend to get a part and then go in there, and it's like, and by mission, I don't mean Dark Moon mission structure. By now, hopefully you know that its structure is, honestly, it's basically free roam. I don't want to say open world, because it doesn't feel open world, but it's definitely very free roam. You can go to and fro wherever you want that you have access to in the game. So it's definitely a very free roam structure. But that kind of gets more into level design, which I'm going to get to next in a second. But the mechanic that you use, and the thing is you go back to that location where you used the mechanic the first time. And I was expecting to use it that second time when I went back, but it wasn't used. And I'm a little upset about that. I honestly feel like the mechanic could have been used more. Hopefully they'll make some kind of DLC and put the mechanic in again in DLC. I hope they add DLC. That would be really cool if we got DLC for the game. Honestly, I'd be totally up for that. I'd buy it. I'd buy the DLC this time, Nintendo, I swear. I would buy it. I didn't get the DLC for Breath of the Wild. Sorry, I didn't. It looks really cool. I just don't have time for it. But I probably should get around to playing that at some point. But I hope they make Luigi's, I hope they make DLC for Luigi's Mansion 3. That would be great. And I hope they use that mechanic again. That would be really cool. Anyways, moving on. To level design. Honestly, a very similar story. The level design is fantastic. It's full of money and... Did I mention that this game should basically be rebranded as Money Collecting Simulator? Because that's basically what it is. I know I sound like I'm just regurgitating Arlo's words, but... I mean, hey, it's true. Truth is truth. Doesn't matter if somebody else already said it, right? Please tell me it doesn't matter. Anyways, it just is. It's full of all kinds of cool secrets and money. You can go back to all the previous floors and get booze on them as well. If you've already completed a floor and then you go back to it, you can get booze. I haven't gotten all of them. I've gotten like 2. Okay, I just wanted to finish it so I could do the review. I did definitely have a lot of fun with it, though. I probably could have gotten all the booze, but I didn't really need to. But if you want to, you can. There's a lot of really cool stuff in the game. All sorts of cool little secrets and stuff. But that's enough about the secrets. What about the actual meat of the experience? The level design. Not just with the cool little secrets and all the money that's stashed literally everywhere and shoved in your face constantly, but how about the actual things that you need to complete? The puzzles, the bosses, the fights, etc. And honestly, I have to say, I'm really impressed with a heavy majority of the floors in the game. A heavy majority of them are fantastic. The puzzles are good. A couple of them in particular I absolutely love. And I can't say what they are because this is a spoiler-free review. But honestly, it's most of the levels are fantastic. And most of the bosses are great. There's a lot of really cool and unique bosses. We basically have portrait ghosts back, except they're character ghosts or boss ghosts, whatever you want to call them. Same thing. It doesn't really matter. But you know, it's great. But there are a couple floors that honestly I felt were really lacking in the content. Similar to how one of the really cool mechanics was only used once, there were a couple floors that basically were like a really short ghost fight, practically no puzzle, if even the slightest hint of puzzle, maybe in small little, like maybe some cash stashed away in a little place. Honestly, it was the second to last floor in particular that was, I would say, the most memorable as being very lacking. It was basically just a boss battle. And honestly, you know, the game as a whole definitely goes above and beyond, and it's fantastic. But that one floor was kind of disappointing, because there was hardly anything to it. It was cool and all, and it could have been really neat, but there just wasn't much there. And I get time, money, I'm sure that's why it's so small and so short, that particular floor. But, you know, and there's always going to be one little part to the game that isn't quite right. But honestly, I felt like that floor could have really been expanded upon, and they could have done a lot more with it instead of just having basically just a boss battle. And I was honestly a little disappointed in that. But that's like 1 or 2 floors. A vast majority of the rest of them are very well made. All the puzzles are really good. The fights are really good. I should have mentioned this back in the mechanics, but the actual gameplay of sucking up ghosts is very satisfying, slamming them around. That should have been one of the first things I mentioned. I don't know why I waited till nearly the end, but obviously that's all really good. And as far as like all the floors that actually do have a decent amount of content to them, it's very well used. It's very well done. Finally, we have the story and atmosphere and art style and kind of some other little side things. And honestly, the story is really cool. I would say it has a little bit more story than Dark Moon, and definitely more story than the original Luigi's Mansion. Because the original Luigi's Mansion, well, we're really talking about the right up front story. Kind of. I don't know, there's a little bit more character interaction that's really cool to see in the game, and I definitely think like the cutscenes are really well done as far as actually having multiple characters instead of just Luigi and Egad and random ghosts that have no name, and then King Boo at the end. There's a little bit more, like with the hotel owner and stuff, and obviously I'm not going to say any more, because this is spoiler free, right? Just stuff you know from trailers and whatever. But, you know, honestly, it's pretty well done. And as far as the atmosphere, despite the cartoony art style, that's a lot more reminiscent of Dark Moon, honestly, the atmosphere and the lighting is really well done. I wouldn't say it's quite as creepy as the original Luigi's Mansion, but it definitely has a lot more atmosphere than Dark Moon did, and I think it's honestly a great marriage of the two styles. In conclusion, I'll give this game 4.5 out of 5 stars. It's certainly not perfect, and there are a few places where there definitely could have been a lot more done, but honestly, as a overall, I would say the experience is absolutely fantastic and would highly recommend it to any fan of Luigi's Mansion, or just Mario games and Nintendo games in general. If you own a Switch, I'd highly recommend getting the game. And if you don't own a Switch, why do you not own a Switch? Please go buy one. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe as well as click the notification bell. I do all sorts of videos, gameplay videos, tutorials, which seem to get the most views for some reason, and just kind of whatever I feel like that's gaming related. So make sure to subscribe to the channel and check the rest of the channel out. You might find some content you like. Anyways, with that, I think I'll probably take my leave, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.